Welcome to some new r/malicious compliance stories, where people comply to the letter but not the spirit of a request. I hope you had a great day. Thanks for all the likes and comments on the last video. If you would like to support this channel, please hit the like button and consider subscribing if you enjoy the content. And now, let's start with the first story. It's called Do Your Job. A few years ago, after graduating junior high school, my friends and I were able to land a part-time job at a fast food restaurant. I work in the kitchen, and my job is to prepare the food that includes soup, noodles and desserts. Not all food is prepared in our workstation. 11 AM to 2 PM is when people start flocking, so the orders quickly pile up. We call it rush hour. Morning shifts have to take their break at 10, so they could return at 11:30. A few months into working there, I get to learn how to shift from working desserts to meals. If there are few orders of the meals, I will help with desserts, since it always piles up. My usual managers have no issue with this. However, this particular week, a new manager comes in, and the usual manager thought it would be a good idea to let her observe the kitchen first. For the first few days, she would just stand in the corner, and my seniors would teach her the standard of the food we are preparing in the kitchen after rush hour. After a few days, she would start to point out a few things I do, why this and that, since after orders died down, I would do the refills and such. I don't really mind. However, I noticed she would only do this to me, no matter how small the mistake is. Things like how messy I work, just because there are a few drops left on the counter whenever I refill, which I quickly clean. Here comes the malicious compliance. As rush hour comes, my senior started his break a bit late, so I and my newbie coworker in charge of desserts were the ones in the kitchen. And since orders for desserts starts to pile up, I began to help out with desserts since I can easily finish the meals. The new manager noticed what I was doing, and instead of helping out, she straight out said, "Can't you just stay in one place?" with a hint of annoyance in her tone. So I and coworker just stared at her for a few seconds before continuing our work. Then she grabbed me by my arm and dragged me to the parallel workstation where I prepare meals. She said, "You have one job and do it here," even raising her tone. I tried to explain that I can still do the meals while helping out, and the orders for desserts are starting to pile up. But still, she said the same thing. And so I did the orders just for meals. I pity my coworker who starts to panic since there are a lot of follow-up orders. And whenever I look at her, she would just stare at us. My senior, who just came back from his break, quickly helped with desserts. And I was taking my time preparing the meals. After the rush hour, my senior asked why I was not helping with the desserts and why I let my coworker, who just started recently, do the work. I told him what happened, and my coworker also told him what happened. We related to our usual manager, and she never did it again. She would still point out every little mistake I did every now and then, but would let me do my work peacefully. The next story is called Time Off. In 2019, I started working for a big accounting firm right after college. I already had a bit of experience because of a few internships, and I always worked part-time since I was 16. But I was mainly hired because I speak 4 languages and they had business with a lot of foreign clients. I was hired as a consultant, but I did a lot of things. I really enjoyed organizing big files, and I had a lot of experience with Excel since I had paid for a professional course during college. So besides my usual work of handling some clients and doing my reports, I was also doing a lot of things like sales reports, clients reports, basically most of the Excel files, and a lot of computer-based tasks. When 2020 hit and we started to work from home, I was able to automate most of my tasks. In 2 or 3 months, I was able to program a code that would basically do the sales reports, most important file, and a few more automatically, and I could update it if needed. My boss was over the moon with the update part, but I did not tell him that it was being done automatically. I did not tell anyone for a matter of fact. This gave me a lot of extra time to talk to clients. I picked up a few extra new ones, which gave me a considerable pay rise since I was highly appraised during the meetings with my direct boss and a few higher-ups. Whenever I did take time off, I had to delegate all of my tasks and client meetings to anyone I trusted, which was mostly Jimmy. Jimmy was a good personal friend of mine and was married to my cousin, so we would occasionally take time off at the same time for a vacation or family gathering. I was saving my vacation days for summer and winter. and in the only days I took during 2020, I let my tasks run automatically. I told Jimmy that he didn't need to do that, and he really didn't ask questions since it was less work for him. However, Jimmy and I took a few days off at the same time to go to our wedding in another country. I was told by my boss that he would let it happen, but to not make it a habit to take our vacation at the same time, and that I would have to work a bit harder to thank him for his good deed, and that my sales weren't getting any bigger in the last few months. I reminded him that I had the highest number of sales in all the departments, and I was the only one with the extra tasks. But he just told me that it wasn't a big deal and that anyone could have done that. So when I went on vacation, I turned off all my automated tasks. This was a big deal since it was the end of the month and my boss would need all my reports completely updated. Apparently, they had to put 5 people to do my tasks so that they could finish the reports, which delayed the work of their team, and the reports were late and lacked a few things that mine had. This was huge since all the higher-ups weren't happy with my boss since he showed them the reports late, and they were clearly a downgrade from mine. They also commented that there was a team failing a lot of deadlines that month, which was the team assigned to do my tasks. As soon as I got back to work, I got a call from my boss, apologizing for not appreciating my work with the tasks, offering me a bonus, and asking me to not take time off at the end of the month ever again. I told him that it was an unreasonable request, and I reminded him that he had already approved my week off in 2 months, which apparently was still under approval. He straight up told me that it wasn't going to be approved. I am not an angry person per usual, but I got really upset about that, and he told me that as long as it wasn't at the end of the month, I could take time off whenever I wanted. Okay, fine. As soon as I got out of the call, I started looking for other jobs and scheduled all my time off, about 3 weeks for the next month, the busiest month for us. This was a big deal, since most of the big clients didn't speak English or our native tongue, and they only wanted to talk to me, but nevertheless, my boss approved. Subsequently, Jimmy also scheduled time off at the same time, so despite not being the end of the month, someone had to do my tasks since I would once again turn them off. Apparently, they weren't able to handle either my clients or my tasks, and they just ignored the tasks until I got back. Some of the clients got really angry, since no one could really assist them as well as I could. I actually got a call on my personal phone from one of them, asking me to assist him in my personal time, and that he would be really appreciative of my time. This was a huge client, and he was actually a great person that had huge respect for me, so I said it was fine as long as he came to my location. I was on vacation with my family. Long story short, he came with a yacht and invited all of my family to go there and to the villa he rented. I spent a whole day helping him and setting all of his orders and requests, and he was more than happy to offer me a job once he knew I was looking for other jobs. Apparently, I sent my curriculum to one of his buddy's companies. It was a huge offer with lots of benefits, and the offer would also extend to Jimmy, who was actually going to work for me with a great salary also. In my country, you don't have to give 2 weeks notice to your boss. So I just quit when I returned and told him that I wouldn't do any of the sales reports. He was mad, but there was nothing he could do. I am still in the same company, but in a higher position now. I actually manage a huge team, and I don't really have a schedule. I just have to travel a lot, which is fine by me. Last I checked with a few friends that still work in my old company, they had to hire a whole team to handle my tasks. A few of the clients quit because they weren't satisfied with how they were being handled. The last story is called Stop All Communication. I've been working as an underwriter for several years. I evaluate loans that are submitted through the queue. I also forward some loan applications to senior underwriters should applicants apply for a higher amount. Part of our expectation as underwriters is to decide on at least 3 applications each hour. If we do not meet this request, then we are put on warnings and are subject to being fired. I work alone with another underwriter on Sundays. He let me know that he was very low on his decisions per hour, and in the spirit of cooperation, and because my numbers are always well above that due to experience, I asked him how many he'd like to work out of the main queue. It is first come first serve for applications. At first he was appreciative of the help and would let me know how many he was going to do, and I'd be sure to leave the applications for him. A month ago he messaged me and told me to stop asking him how many applications he was going to do that day, as he was feeling micromanaged. I let him know that I was just trying to help him meet his numbers and that I was only asking to make sure I didn't get in the way. He told me to stop communicating with him and to just work the queue. I made sure to document the conversation should there be any backlash for the upcoming malicious compliance. From that day on, I just used my experience to my advantage and claimed as many applications as I could. On a normal Sunday, there are around 150. Under our arrangement before, I did half of them and left the other half for him. The queues and how intense the applications can vary, which is why I'd always communicate with him. After that, I did as many as I felt I could, while still being accurate, as that is another thing we are judged on. For the last 3 Sundays, the amount of applications the other underwriter did has gone down to around 20 each Sunday due to how fast and accurately I was able to get through the rest of the queue. I also stopped answering his questions in the chats and said that I was too busy working to answer his questions. He is now on a verbal warning, and he is too prideful to tell me he was wrong or apologize, so I'm keeping course. I was able to change shift and no longer work Sundays due to how good my numbers look, so I will no longer have to work with him alone on Sunday. I still refuse to answer his questions the other days of the week we work. I have not been approached by my management for my malicious compliance and have only been praised for my work thus far. And with that, we end today's video. Let me know what you think about the stories. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the stories and today's video? I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like what I do and want to support me, please subscribe and hit the like button. I hope you have a great day. Stay safe. Bye bye.